Welcome to the Friendly Fire Show.
Episode 127, the 2016 Game of the Year Christmas special and our year in review.
For Christmas and and the year in review.
And being December.
And the week of, I don't know, probably the 19th or something of December 2016. I'm Steve from Stevivor.com.
I'm Ben from Stevivor, according to my t-shirt, and Phoenix Bazaar occasionally.
My t-shirt also says Stevivor, and I'm Shane from that t-shirt.
I'm Tano, and my t-shirt says nothing.
It usually says Polo.
Ralph.
Are you from Ralph Lauren?
Ralph Lauren and Polo are actually two separate divisions of the Ralph Lauren brand. So
I thought it was Ralph
Let's
Lauren.
dive right into this.
And my underwear says PhoenixBazaar.com.
yeah,
Which is
nice
creepy.
to know you're close to the brand.
Limited edition Phoenix Bazaar underwear.
Hey, I want some limited.
There's like a
edition.
hole in the butt. I'm not sure why that's like that, but that's how I
You've
bought
got them on backwards.
So.
Talking
Steve,
a lot
is
of
what's
shit.
happening.
Oh,
Yeah.
damn it.
That's for wee-wees, not for butt dudes.
I was thinking something wholly more graphic.
We've
but
wrecked this podcast already.
Yeah.
Yes, we're back.
It's been a long time. We did a PAX special about a month ago. And before
Doesn't
that,
count. I wasn't here.
we did... Yeah, Shane wasn't here. We didn't have our producer, which is why it was not produced.
I did the best I could, all right?
No, you produced something. I just of a quality.
I produced the thing that came out of the hole of my Phoenix Bazaar underwear.
Yes.
I
From
think
the front or
we-
back, I think that's important to.
Surely we gave you an executive producer something like an honorary title.
Oh, I got paid for it, but
Okay.
like, didn't put in any work.
And before that, we did I'm pretty sure we did an E3 one in maybe like a month after E3. It's a bit delayed.
No, that was like a day or two after the start of E3 because
Oh,
I was also
You guys did
absent
one,
for
then
that.
we did another one following.
Oh.
Well,
I was
In
told
July.
last year that Ben is the only reason why this podcast is funny. So at the moment, we only
He's
do
the funny one.
podcasts when Ben comes to Melbourne, and
Right.
Ben is obviously in Melbourne. So
As long as Shane's not in Melbourne, and Ben's in Melbourne.
The rest of us in Melbs aren't good enough. So we've just,
Sorry, in where?
Melbs.
Oh, Melbs, right?
good old
okay.
Melbs.
Were you pressed for time and had to?
Yeah,
Okay, I see. Yeah.
trying to cut down the podcast.
And we've been building
He's
up our
paid by
hatred.
character, so we're trying to cut
It's
costs.
been 12 months of just hating on games, and we need to vent it somewhere. All the things that disappointed us. This is basically Festivus.
Yeah.
This is
You
Festivus.
publishers have
Well, yes,
disappointed
it
us
is
this year,
Festivus.
and now you're going to hear about it.
Yeah.
That's later. Now.
But
That is
this
later.
could be the return of the Friendly Fire Show as well because we've got something in the works.
Oh, what a tease! What a tease from Shane.
Yes.
You gonna talk about it? Or are you
might be
gonna
back.
let it linger?
Well, we're hoping to be back to like a weekly thing.
We just heard
Got some
about
plans.
this internet fad, and apparently you can record.
Well, they only just got
over it.
they only just got the internet in Adelaide, which is where Ben had to move.
Well,
to,
they don't
so
really have it yet.
Now that they have that,
There's this thing called Skype. I've heard it's Skype,
this one's.
I think
no,
you're pronouncing it correctly. Yeah.
and you can chat to people on the internet. Have I killed this?
No,
Have
but
I?
I just if you
I've
say
said this.
Skype, then maybe the listeners who are familiar with our fabulous quality might be. Don't worry, it won't be shit. It
No,
might
but-
even be better.
But Shane's in charge, so Shane make it sound good, as
Yeah.
opposed to me, who had earphones on.
Everyone knows
Well,
how competent
we
I
have
am.
this audio control one device, control spent with a K.
Don't say that. Don't say that. They should pay us if we're going to name a brand.
We have the
Oh, I
Audio
see.
Control 7
Okay,
device.
we're using audio control half.
Actually,
Not
don't
even
say
one.
that because people will know it's like an 8-year-old. Like,
That's why we're at
outdated-
7. Surely there's 7 of these by now.
I think they're at X. Everyone just skips to X at some stage.
Audio Control 10,
Yeah,
Anniversary Edition, with Halo built in.
with the season pass, I believe.
Oh yeah, no, that's extra, of course. Are we gonna? I think we have enough fighting with one another about Game of the Year to last about 7 hours, so we should probably just get straight into it.
We should
Correct.
get into the. We're going to briefly go through the main games of each month of 2016. January being a real dud month, it had a game of note worth talking about. I'm not talking about all the rubbish that came out, just the
Is it the worst month of the year?
of
Well,
2016.
no, it's my birthday month, so clearly.
Not for that reason, Steve.
Oh.
For games, like
Game-wise-
Otherwise,
if you
then.
had to award a month of this year, the Golden Wild month of the year, is January out
if
in
we're
front?
talking 2016,
Yes,
yes. If
we
we're talking
are.
2017,
Why the hell are we talking
No.
2017?
well, because we're talking months of the year.
Well, it is like 16 days away.
But to
20
be
yeah.
serious, I can't get over how good next month was. It was great.
What? Is. The word you're looking for
It
is.
Shane.
No.
If this podcast gets published in February, you're all over
Oh
it.
mate, I'm ahead of my time even.
So, like, okay, so we're,
Let's go back.
we're getting to 2016, but we're already on the tangent of 2017.
No,
What,
we're not.
Well, no,
We
but
shouldn't
just
be.
really quickly, what's making you excited about 2017 in January?
I think in January. I think there's
Are you
a few
kidding
things
me?
happening in
There's-
February. Why?
there's-
What am I
and
missing?
the
Resident
game
Evil
coming out.
7. Bam.
You should be the guy who says it, but you need to say
Resident Evil
7.
That's pretty
No,
good.
it's future, Tano.
that's
what are you
pretty good.
doing?
But we
yeah, that's that guy.
We can't
pretty
talk
good.
about this until next year's Game of the Year podcast. For now,
Oh, damn
we
it.
have to
Okay,
talk
fine.
about
The Witness.
one game, The Witness.
I
that
ruined
came
it.
out
Sorry,
in
Ben.
2016 January.
So wait, are we going to go through every single month?
Yes, but only the
In a very
worthwhile games.
condensed format. Well, since really the only
This is a 2-part, possibly 3-part episode.
7-part extravaganza, 12 parts,
Christ.
there'll be
Inside.
cliffhangers.
1 month per episode. No, Shane the Witness.
Never played The Witness.
Well-
You're the only person who played it.
The Witness.
I played it.
I recall in January, I was trying to tell you guys how impressed I was with The Witness, and it's not that it was falling on deaf ears, but I kind of had it was hard for me to explain exactly what it was about it. You've played it since then, Ben. Do you understand what I was saying? Like it's basically just a puzzle game with a little bit of exploration, and it was really up itself and quite pretentious, but it was something different that I hadn't seen before.
I think all the shit that people liked it for, the exploration, the fact that it was artistic or whatever, that was all garbage. The
See, when you
puzzles-
said "or whatever," I knew you were just coming down on the other side of that. That's fine. Please go on. Go on.
The puzzles are fantastic.
Yeah,
Like, they really got me thinking. It took me hours to solve some of them.
and it's those ones that it's not because it's a particularly tricky puzzle. It's because you're thinking about it in the wrong way, and
Yeah,
they've
you
given
just
you
don't
hints
see
to
it.
well, you've got to trace something from off the puzzle screen, or you know. The answer is in the background or in your peripheral or something, and that's what I thought was really clever about it.
And it's a really good. We've taught you the basic mechanics at the start, and then each puzzle introduces a new one, and it doesn't really tell you what that is. You have to figure out what the new mechanic is, and then feed back in the
it
old
does a
things
pretty
you
good job
learned.
of bringing that in a natural way, though. Like, there's so many, I think there was, from memory, there was 10 to 12 different areas, and they all focused on a different way that the puzzles sort of went. Like, they bring in a new mechanic, and I thought, considering they had so many different new types of puzzle to bring in, I was always surprised how they bring in the new type of element to the puzzle in a really sort of clever way that wasn't super obvious. It wasn't just like, this is a blue triangle. When you see one of these, you have to do this. They always use the environment or something like that. Like, it was definitely a very clever game. And there was a lot of stuff that I missed until I was way further into it as well. Like, there's quite a lot there. Like, even when you get to the end, there's like a timed challenge thing, and
I didn't like that. I finished. I'm 1 trophy short of The Witness.
it is
And,
nerve-wracking, that last one, man. It's
I
hard.
I tried it, and because everything resets when you don't do it, I gave up.
That
It's just not
music
for
that
me.
plays when there's like 2 songs that play back to back, and it's kind of a countdown, and you're in this area where all the toughest puzzles are, and they reset constantly. There's no way for you to know what they are, but man,
I gave
that
up.
was
That's where-
was really tough.
That's where it became.
I
not
couldn't
fun for
let
me
it go. I
anymore.
did it, but it took me like a whole day of trying to do it.
What I didn't get is people saying "Oh yeah, I love the story of The Witness." What are you talking about?
I think people are looking too deep into it if they think this is a story. but
There's
whatever.
no story at all. It's a puzzle game.
I think it was artistic, and whether you give a shit about that or not is entirely up to you. I don't think there was a story. I think there was there was an idea of what had happened on the island, and I think people who were talking about maybe the story that's going on there maybe hadn't finished it and realised that they thought there was more to it. It would have been nice if they had have actually put a proper narrative, or even just a backstory to you keep seeing all these people who are turned into statues or whatever around the place, and you never really get an idea of what that is.
No, it was
And
trying.
I think I've explored it to
Medusa.
the nth degree. I I think there's 3 different endings, and I got all the different endings and
I
went
don't
through the
care
whole
about
thing.
that at all.
There's no. Oh, I did it because there was different puzzles. Like it was. I didn't do it because of the endings. I thought there's a new puzzle. I'll do that. I don't think there was. Yeah, story wise, there was nothing. There was some weird postmodern bullshit, but like.
I thought
it's not
maybe
a
it was
story.
all overpriced. I think it was $70 when it came out. But
Was it really?
Yeah,
I don't think
I
so.
think it was.
But it was a Jonathan Blow game.
I ignored all this other side, whatever statue island. I just did the puzzles.
Yeah,
And
I think even that it stands on its own. It was.
yeah,
it
I
was
think
good.
it's great. I would say it's the second.
I didn't
best.
realize it was $70.
Yeah.
Wow.
I would
I
say
don't
it's
know
the
if it's
second
$70
best
game.
PS4 timed exclusive of the year because it's now actually on Xbox One as well. It was a short timed exclusive.
Yeah, and that's good though. Like I mean,
That is. Well, I mean,
it's
it would
not
be
like
better
a
if
system
it wasn't.
seller anyway, so who cares?
No.
Like it's.
PS4 had a pretty weak year, and it's probably the highlight. Second highlight for me.
I would say 2016 was kind of a weak year, but that's
I would
alluding
say
to what's to come.
overall, 2016 was a year of a lot of good games without any great games.
Yeah.
But that
And
is
a ton of re-releases. And I
But
think it's safe to say,
that's
Tano, because you've said
2014 and
nothing.
15 too.
2016 January.
it was a dud
You
month.
say those two things in usually the reverse order that I did, but like nothing.
I feel like we
It's
need
nothing.
that.
If we're talking about The Witness so intently,
we need that woman who does the start of like the Xbox conference, being like, "Please take your seats. The press conference will start in 3 minutes."
Please
We
have
need-
a quick nap through January.
We need her to be like
Have a hot dog.
February. She
Okay.
needs to introduce us. To
I
the
can
new
try
month.
it. February 2016.
Okay, now you have to do it for every month. but
Again.
Okay, I
like
can
it.
do that.
Okay.
That didn't suck. You've done 2 voices already. This is like the new. This is the reboot of the Friendly Fire show.
And here's Shane
Steve's
doing
been
it.
practicing. He's been going to like an acting situation.
Here's someone from New Zealand doing it. February 2016.
And there we are, back to
Oh, that
our
was
regular
terrible.
terrible
You're welcome.
content. Thank
I
you.
would say the first game that was of note of February was Unravel.
Ooh, I forgot about that.
Oh,
Yeah.
I doth protest, Ben. Oh no, I don't, because I'm looking at
You
the wrong way.
dothn't?
I dothn't protest.
I
Unravel
retract
was.
thou contractual whatever.
I
don't
really
know.
liked Unravel, and I liked it because it was a puzzle game that had more of a story than a lot of puzzle games. Side, it was adorable and challenging, and it had a lot of physics-based stuff that was quite enjoyable. It had a heartwarming kind of feel to it. I know I'm far too close to it than I should be, and I'm probably biased, but I
Remind us why that
Explain
is.
that.
Why are you biased?
because
Because
me and Martin are
yeah.
top mates.
And who is
now.
Martin?
The
guy-
developer of the
the
game.
designer, lead
the
designer.
head of the company
he's-
who developed the game.
It's tough to meet him and not be
Fall in
attached
love?
to
Steve
what
had a coffee
he's
with him.
doing.
I talked to him about like
I had an espresso
genuine
with him at
Swedish
GameStop.
metal. We were on our way to like an At the Gates concert, and the guy was like, "Yeah, cool, bro. That's Swedish, huzzah!" and so forth.
Did he
The-
start crying?
No, he was just like, "You're a heaps cooler guy than Steve." He's something like that.
That's
I-
probably true. But like for someone as soon as he went on stage at E3 and introduced this like indie EA game,
It was the
Everyone was
body
you
like,
language.
couldn't help but
Whoa.
fall in love with like the idea and the concept and him and the passion, and I feel like he translated that into a game quite well.
I think you could tell like he was really passionate about it. It was obvious, but like the body language that he had on stage, I don't know if Tano remembers. I think you were asleep at that point during the EA press conference.
I was
Or were you awake for that one?
I was awake.
Oh, because it was still pretty
I
early.
was concentrating. I was thinking.
We've had like 2 or 3 years in a row. Actually, we missed last year, but man, I've heard Tano snore through an EA press conference here and there.
Or two. Or
But
five.
yeah, anyway, you
Lot
could,
of
like the way
interesting
he was kind of like he was like physically shaking his hands, like he was obviously
Yeah.
really nervous, and he was just like, that is a breath of fresh air in an absolute ass factory, which is the EA press conference of wankers coming out in suits. It's just like the
Except-
only
You know
thing
what,
like
though?
Except for
Actually-
Pele,
I
because
actually
Pele
don't
was
think he was
batshit
nervous.
crazy.
I don't think he was nervous. I think he was really attached to what he created.
I think he was nervous because you were there, Tano.
But either way is like
I think
amazing. He was
Yeah,
either
and
so
that
attached to his
came through,
project
though.
that it
I
was
think
like
he was really emotional and just like he was, and like even when he would have said the same thing to you, because everyone I've spoken to that's spoken to him has said the same thing, that when he's spoken about the game, he said that I wasn't nervous. I was just,
Passionate.
I was passionate about
Yeah.
what I was talking about because I've spent like 5 years with this character trying to develop this game, and it's getting to a point now where it's an actual product. It's an actual game. So.
I mean, yeah, it's going to be
And I
exciting,
missed
and
it 'cause
like
I was
I
sleeping.
just think like I must be the only one who Unraveled just kind of it didn't work for me. It just didn't hit home. Like, and it was the kind of the cute story and like all the stuff that we've just been talking about. For me, it was just like, it's just another thing. Like I didn't like, just because there's an old lady and a red thing made out of yarn, I was just like, I don't care about that.
It wasn't.
I just want to play the game
as I thought it would be. I thought it was like all that stuff that Steve said is right, but the gameplay was very much, you've done this in the first mission or level, and now you're going to be doing it again. It didn't really
now
expand.
do it around
like
a chandelier near a crab.
Well, I don't know if we're
I thought it was
talking.
going to expand more, but
We're getting ahead of. We're supposed to go month to month, but like Inside was something that I feel is quite similar. And Inside I really liked until the end, which became
Is that why I should have burnt on this?
nonsensical.
Yeah.
Well, like just stupid.
Well,
and like
I totally
you don't want to spend that
understand
much time playing a game which has like, if we're talking about The Witness, no narrative at all. Unravel and Inside had this overarching narrative that you progress through level to level and you were working towards an outcome. And Inside was a complete letdown, and Unravel was just like a feel good story at the end. And like I'm
Inside was a
happy with
complete
that.
letdown at the end.
Yeah,
That's why you don't like this. Like,
Inside was
That's-
garbage the
I
whole
mean that.
time. I didn't get it at all.
I didn't-
Unravel
I
was
thought it
like
was
an
alright.
American Hollywood blockbuster where like that it's going to work out in the end. You know what's going to happen, but like the journey was
I
still.
don't know if I'd put it with Hollywood. I know the point you're
But,
trying
like,
to make.
every
but
movie
yeah.
is like, oh well, obviously they
that
win.
feel-good comedy romp of the summer.
Well, and I guess every game is kind of like that too. Like Nathan Drake's not going to lose at the end. Like that you're going to overcome
well,
adversities.
yeah, I mean,
but
We've not got there yet.
well, we haven't got there. But
well,
yeah,
like just any
that's,
game,
that's a marketing
Master
thing
Chief's
as
going to
well.
win, Lara Croft's going to win, everybody's going to win. But like it was a nice journey to get. I enjoyed the journey.
Like if I made a heartfelt indie game called Underdog, would you just assume he was going to get there in the end, Steve?
Well, the very nature of an underdog, yes.
Well, maybe I'll change that narrative.
Over.
It's a work in progress, all right? Whatever.
Medium positioned dog, average dog.
Average dog, yeah, that's
Have
it.
we talked
Average
enough
Joe.
about Unravel?
Yeah.
We have. I reckon there's probably only one other game.
This is EA month. Is
Well, I would say Plants vs Zombies: Garden Warfare 2.
Oh yeah.
come on.
I mean,
Is that the end of it, Tano?
do you know? No, but I mean,
thought you were
no.
really into that.
At end.
It's a great multiplayer game, but it's just like what else is there to say?
It didn't cook. I moved on straight away.
Yeah, it's
But
it's
got,
a good
got
game, but like
a big community of
It
people
does.
who've stayed. Like, that's,
so did the first one. Yeah.
yeah.
Why is
That's
this? Okay, why is this better than the first one? Why don't I just keep playing?
There's a
it?
two
more
on the end of it.
characters, more weapons, more
Open
modes,
world aspect to
It's
it.
more open world.
It seemed a lot more like fully developed. Like
Yeah.
the first one was a cool idea that they sort of got out the gate as quick as they could. This one seemed a lot more.
I totally forgot about it, but yeah, it was a great. I thought it was a really good
Put
game.
that on the box.
Yeah, like that.
I totally
That
forgot
theme
about
is
it.
going to come back into play in the Christmas themed bit of whenever we get to it today.
But
We're
I
just
think
doing nothing but
I think
teasers
what's
now.
important about Plants vs Zombies is that it kind of set the standard for DLC, and the sequel did as well in terms
Well,
of free DLC.
Especially with EA, like
Yeah.
you need to realize that you can't segment your player base,
And
and you
it's
need to give
part of the
everybody the same
reason-
content so they're all engaged.
And it's part of the reason why it's so successful, because they've offered all of this great DLC, and no one covers it. Like, there's no press out there. There's so much DLC out there for it, and it's pretty much all free, and it doesn't divide the community. And EA has embraced pretty much the whole thing.
Yep.
So, I guess that's why it's so popular.
Well, if I may, Ben, moving on, the Westworld sponsored
Ooh.
video game Best Dick of the Year award goes to Far Cry Primal for its very authentic, lifelike representation of male genitalia.
Oh, we got sponsorship from HBO.
in a video game.
Can you back up? What's happening?
Just Westworld had a whole bunch of dong in it, and so does Far Cry Primal.
Oh,
And that was my-
Did
of course.
Westworld have a whole lot of...
Westworld
Yes.
has
Yes, dude.
Westworld has more flaccid penis than Game of Thrones. If you would
what I
believe.
would have been watching must have been the censored version, because I didn't see it at all.
Are
A
you
lot.
It was usually in the room where all of
Yeah,
the
Usually
things were.
next
I
to
made
the
an effort
vaginas.
to see if you could see genitals.
No, dude, the one guy
You're
had
not trying.
you did.
the
Tony.
one guy had a penis that was down to his knee.
Yeah, there was some.
Okay, and
it was
well-done
hard-
Okay,
projects.
the version.
And once you saw it,
no.
it was hard not to look at it. You
That
just
that
kept
guy
looking
was a
at it.
featured
one-
actor
the
that
one
week.
that-
Usually it's just background characters.
where
that
I-
guy had his own agent.
Where I
like-
watch Westworld completely, legitimately, 100%, it was definitely censored out.
I don't think you
because it
spelled
was
out
not
the piracy enough there, Tano.
It was not there. They
No,
must
there's-
have taken it out.
I definitely saw all of it.
Because I made an effort to look.
Tano is like the hosts, and if you show him a picture of a
Oh, you
penis,
can't
he's
say
like,
it.
"I can't. What are you talking about? I got nothing. What are you talking
Doesn't
about?
look like anything
Penis?
to me.
I don't see anything."
I think is the line you're looking for. I think there's so much dick in Westworld, Tano. If they had have taken it out, you would have noticed the gaping hole that left behind.
I
Yeah,
didn't see
it's
it.
strange that you hadn't picked it up. Anyway, well, are we a video
are-
game show?
But do you want to hear about Westworld
You
for 5
can
minutes or what?
see dick quite a lot in Far Cry Primal if you're interested.
I haven't played Far Cry.
Oh,
so-
it's so good. It's so good.
It uses the
It
map
was
of Far
too
Cry
quick after
4.
4.
Does
It
it
was
really?
too quick.
It's like
It was too quick.
No, but it's DLC.
I
in
wasn't
the same
ready
vein
for
that,
Far Cry again. Like,
that Blood Dragon was.
but it's $100.
but
not
it's a
20.
full game
Yeah.
as well. Like,
Yeah,
I'm
there's
not
that.
ready to commit myself to another full 20, 30 hour game. Like,
Forgot
It wasn't
minimum.
that long. It was
Yeah.
10 hours. It was
Oh,
a bit
really?
shorter.
Blood Dragon was
Well,
like a
why did
gimmick.
they market it wrong as a full game then?
What was
Well, they
still
didn't
full?
market it very hard at all, though, did
Blood
they?
Dragon was like based on a mod. It
Blood Dragon was a gimmick kind of that was hilarious in Neon for like a little while.
was based on a mod.
Far Cry Primal, like they researched and developed all of these like random, like archaic dialects and like Far Cry Primal didn't get the attention it deserved.
It's
I think
actually
with
really
Far
good.
Cry,
Probably
is that
because of timing. You're
because
right.
they've nailed
If it
that
had
kind
come
of
out
first
late this
person
year,
open
different
world
thing.
game. Ubisoft has nailed that first person Far Cry.
Here's the thing, though.
experience.
Ubisoft have nailed that so well that they release 3 games a year in
Yeah.
the exact same like they release an Assassin's Creed, now a Far Cry, and Watch Dogs, and like every year you've got so many Ubisoft games that all play exactly the same. Like go to the area, capture the tower, unlock the whatever. Like I played Far
They're
Cry
no
4
Rockstar.
the year before.
They're no Rockstar.
Well, I guess they space it out a little bit more. Because Rockstar still do
Not-
the same
not-
thing.
Not
but like,
traditionally,
Oh,
they have
man.
this generation, but they didn't in the past.
well, Rockstar do it better, but they also
That's my point.
they don't saturate the market
Yeah,
with it. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
I played Far Cry
Well,
4
that was my point.
the year before. I'm just making all your points, aren't I, Tano? I played Far Cry 4 the year before, and I was not ready to play a Ubisoft game,
Yeah.
let alone Far
It
Cry.
came
game.
out like 14 months later, which is too soon, or 15 months, something like that. I will say the mechanics work surprisingly well. Like when they announced it, I was like, "This seems like a gimmicky
it looked like a
spin-off.
lot of fun. Like I mean, I watch people play it,
But like
a
you,
fair bit, but
you
like,
take out the vehicles from Far Cry, you take out the guns, you take out pretty much all the characterization because there was no like crazy megalomaniac villain, and it's like, whoa,
you
what's left
can't
in
do
Far
that
Cry?
every time either.
No,
You really
but
have to
this is
hold
a
back.
one-off where it's like,
Yeah.
let's really skim it back down to the basics, and it worked really well.
What I'm surprised at, like, if you said it's like it's only maybe a 10-hour game or whatever, why didn't they
It was
just make
shorter.
this a standalone DLC kind of thing, or is
Because
it
that's
bigger
the,
than that?
yeah, it's bigger. Maybe I give it an injustice saying it's only 10.
Because
like it's
also
a
they never
reworked
marketed
map.
it like they showed it off somewhere just before it came out, and
It's
everyone
a-
went, "Oh shit, we didn't know that was happening," and then it came out
It's
and
a
they
10
didn't
to
push
12 action adventure game, which is a full game
it. Yeah.
in the way that Uncharted is only.
Well, that's 2 full games by your a real game should go for 6 hours logic.
Absolutely, it's a bit long.
Anything over 6 hours can stuff off, as we say at the Friendly Fire Show.
It was good.
It was.
Well done.
Smooth. That
Far
was
Cry
smooth.
Primal. Best Far Cry Primal.
Best Palmer I've had in
Close
years.
enough.
6
You know
out of
what?
10. Put it on the
Best Palmer.
box.
It is the
What?
best.
Palmer
It's
Pie.
the best current gen Far Cry game because there's only been one. The Far Cry 4 was cross gen.
That is true.
Palmer and a pot, $60.
And like that, we've moved past February.
Oh, in a blur.
Wow, in 30 minutes.
Shit, this is going to be a long show.
March.
I reckon we, yeah, okay, sure.
Smart.
No, we're fine. March. I don't think there's
Smarch?
anything really to talk about until The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess HD.
Do we really need to talk about that?
Well, that won our award
I
for
guess.
best re-release because they fixed it. Basically, it was
And moving on.
How did they fix it, Ben?
it was in disgusting SD, and they made it HD, which is what a
Okay,
remaster
so
should be.
moving on.
Well, I know as Ben said, people played it because it was that weird cross-platform like GameCube Wii thing.
And they
People
had
played it on
nothing else to
Wii
play.
with Waggle.
It's also
And this
an
is bringing it
incredible
back-
game.
Well,
like,
it's bringing it back to its actual
That's true.
controller
This is
roots.
the-
it is Zelda at its best.
If
Like I don't
you-
think it's the best Zelda, but it's up there with the best.
If you played it on Wii, you played the whole game mirrored, so you could waggle around.
So what's the best Wii? Best Wii.
This is proper Twilight Princess.
we've
left-handed
had
link.
this
One
argument
after
before.
being on an airplane flight that you couldn't go to the bathroom at, and then like once you land and go and just like hit that toilet afterward, that's the best.
I
Wii.
think just after we left the pub before
Oh.
we got here, that was probably my best in recent
Oh
recent
my
memory.
God.
It was necessary.
Come on, that was brilliant.
Were you trying to say what's the best Zelda?
Yes.
It's like you
And I
zone
corrected
out.
myself.
You zone out, Tano. We've had this conversation. It was a heated debate, and we all settled on Majora's Mask is the best Zelda.
That's true.
Yes. Anyway, this was very good.
I can't believe there was
replayed the whole thing.
consensus there too. We really must have nailed that. Like, yeah. Anyway,
Well, not this year because 2016 was Twilight Princess HD, developed by Melbourne-based Tanchilla, Tatura, something like
something
that.
like that. Sounds like-
no one
sounds
got
like you're
access
trying to
no one
name a
knew.
Mexican food on the menu, but you're like, I'm
Tantalus.
sorry. Can I have the
Tantalus.
number the 12, the Tanchilla?
It's
the
Tantalus.
the number 12, but with the
12?
white rice. Thank you.
It's totally Tantalus, by the way.
Okay, well, you've
That's
looked
not
it
that
up.
bad.
I think it might not be. I don't know.
It was tarantulas. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds legit.
It's like Smith. Like, come
Anyway,
on.
they did a good job of remaking the Wii U's one game that came out this year
Yeah.
that was worth playing.
Does anyone? Ben, you've played it. I have too. I really liked Super Hot. I think Super Hot
Super Hot's
warrants a
pretty great.
mention.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was-
I played it for an hour or so.
A cool shooter with like a different take, where like everything is paused until you move, and it's
When
just-
you explained this to me, you were like, "Oh, it's this," and like you explained the mechanics. I'm like, "Oh, so it's turn based," and you were like, "Yeah,
It
it
kind
is.
of is.
It
Actually,
really
it is
is.
complete-
Yeah.
That's what turn based is."
Do you know what I like about it? Like, it doesn't tell you anything. It's like it throws you into it, and then you move, and then that's how you learn how to play it. Like,
Yeah.
it teaches you on the go,
It's like an old
Which-
school game where you kind of just like,
Yeah.
you fall into it and you
and it
figure
gives
it
you
out.
really subtle hints, and it's kind of
turn based is an old school game mechanic
Shane,
as well. Like,
That's a good
Shane
way to put
nailed it. That is exactly how you should describe it, but
Yeah.
no one has.
it's so weird that you took a couple of sentences to explain exactly what it was to me. I'm like, yeah, that's a turn based game.
It's
You're
a turn-based shooter.
but it doesn't. It doesn't present itself as such. I guess.
Quite a bit of trial and error as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. Oh, hell yes. It's wholly trial and error. Because you have to think about 10 moves ahead to figure out what you need to do, and not only think that ahead, but you need to activate it.
Chess is
This
also
is a
turn based.
2016 Xbox game, but it hit PC
It came out on PC
2015.
first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe
November.
I think that's the. Oh, already? I thought it
November
came out in
last year.
January. Okay, maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well,
But
we
then it
reviewed it
hit
on
Xbox.
Xbox.
So we'll just delete this because
No, but it's like I think a lot of
No, we'll
people were
delete it, it's fine.
Yeah, this is
introduced to
irrelevant.
it.
I feel like there
It
was
got
some
more press.
there was some portion that wasn't available in Australia until maybe this year.
It definitely got more press when it came to Xbox.
Yeah.
Definitely, and more people became aware of it and were talking about it. So
And it only came in March. It was probably only in American Xbox. as
I think
well.
it's one of the best shooters of the year, in my opinion.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Despite the
Not really being a shooter and
hesitation
kind
of where
really
it gets placed, but that's fine.
Yeah.
Best shooter of the last 2 years.
Oh man, April.
Debatable.
If we're talking about April actually was pretty good. Actually,
Yeah.
April's pretty decent. I think the first game that we need to talk about, Quantum Break.
Quantum Break was good.
Love it or hate it. I really loved it.
I had
liked
issues with Quantum Break.
I thought it was okay.
I thought the TV show game
Yeah,
mix
that
up
was
was
not
a bit
great.
rushed.
Yeah.
Like it didn't feel like they really had their heart in it. It felt like it was a good idea which got cancelled halfway through development and they just kind of phoned it in. It didn't feel like what they wanted to do actually
Because that's
happened.
something that they set in motion like a couple of years ago. Like obviously with like a
Yeah.
development
When
cycle
they
of a
announced
game, they have
Xbox
to.
TV,
I did
TV,
kind of
TV.
feel like, so I played, through a level, and then there was a new episode. I think there were only 4 episodes or something in the end. And by the time the episode started, I kind of felt like I had to watch it because it was the thing that it was doing. But I wanted to press skip so bad because I didn't give a shit about what they were doing in this.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what, I couldn't actually stream the episodes because I had a pre-release, and it just wouldn't stream the episodes well enough at the internet connection at my house because I wasn't on NBN like someone that I know in this room. I'm calling attention to Ben. So
I wasn't when I played this. It was
in
sad
April.
times.
I'm on
Yes.
NBN. I'm cool too.
Well, anyway, I couldn't watch the episode, so I had to like skip the episode. But in the next 5
Did they have
minutes,
it previously on?
no, but
skipped
like in the
episode?
next 5 minutes of the next chapter of the game, I'm smart enough to have pieced together what was presented.
That's not a good sign in my eyes.
well, but like
If you can skip half an hour of content and then go, it's probably he did that.
The downfall
then
of this
what's
game
the point of that shit?
is that it was made when Xbox made this huge TV push. So Remedy was told not to make Alan Wake 2 and instead had to make this weird hybrid thing that would have played into all these TV concerns. And by the time it came out, Microsoft had dropped TV. Not only like dropped TV, like
Thrown it out a window like a
shuttered
rock
the
star.
entire TV production thing that they had created for the TV for the Xbox. Like it was, but the game itself is very Remedy, and those who like Alan Wake, etc., Max Payne, will really enjoy the Remediness of Quantum Break.
Do you know what I like about Remedy? They build a game around one very simple sort of game mechanic. They did it with Max Payne, they did it with Alan Wake, they've done it with Quantum Break. They take that core sort of mechanic and they build an entire game around it rather than build the game and then try and add like a
Set
gimmick
piece.
into it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they've built that whole game around that whole time sort of bending, whatever it is, whatever you want to call it. I thought it was kind of hit and miss at times, but that's just me personally. But like, I admire them for going in that path, and there aren't many developers that do that with the sort of flexibility and to the quality, the type of quality that they do it at is just it's pretty great.
Well, I personally, I really struggled with Quantum Break.
So
like,
I struggled as well.
I was super excited for it. Like this could have something to do with why. Like I got maybe 2 or 3 chapters in and I stopped. Like I stopped playing it because it was like frustrating me, and I was really disappointed as well. And it could be because I'd sort of hyped it up quite a lot. I just finished watching Fringe, so I was like, yes, this is going to be great. And like, you know, there's
the guy who talks like that, I can't even
he
do
doesn't
that accent.
he doesn't talk like
His
that.
voice is so
no,
awesome.
you need one word. Dunham. That's it. Dunham. That's the one. Anyway, we've done that. But also the guy from both guys, the main dudes, they were in a Fringe episode as well, and there was all this. There's an episode of Fringe where who's the main character who was in
with
was he in Lost or
Iceman.
Yeah.
Was he in Fringe?
Yeah. He was in.
Shit.
He might have been in 2. Him and his brother, because they did the same kind of thing. Anyway,
I can't even remember, but okay, I believe
anyway,
you. Sorry.
all
Didn't
these
mean to
great people,
derail.
like you know, this great production staff behind it. That like, you know, that I'd never played Alan Wake, but it's something that has always appealed to me. And I know, Steve, we've had this conversation where you kill me with your eyeballs for many times. I was really, really excited for it, and I got into it, and like I was blown away by the production, and like there was so much to it that I absolutely loved. I'm a massive geek for anything even slightly sci-fi, and I was ready for it to just knock me out, and just the gameplay just got to me really quickly, and I was just like, this is just another cover shooter, and it felt kind of clumsy, and it really was just the gameplay and the, like, you know, even just moving around and sort of getting to places and using the sort of these abilities that are made for battle to sort of get to, like, I got to get up there and grab this little thing that I can see.
Yeah.
It really quickly it got to me, and I was just like, you know what, I cannot be
If
fucked
you
with
have
this.
time to play it on like easy and just kind of like
I was
fluff-
playing it on easy. It wasn't that. It was just like I was so bored with it.
The
'Cause
last-
I played so like any cover shooter for one, like that genre of game for me, for some reason, is just like I just can't be bothered with it. You know what I mean? Like
I
for
get it.
special occasions, like Uncharted, I'll like suck it up and play. And even like what else? The Division. I played that for a whole week before I was like, who
This
gives
is a
a
suck
shit?
it up game. A
I
Remedy
tried,
game
man. I
to
really.
me. Max
I'm gonna be
Payne
more happy just watching someone play through
will
it
do
on
that.
YouTube.
Like a Remedy game like Max Payne, Alan Wake, Quantum Break. Like I feel like the mechanics are solid enough that I don't have the same opinion as you. But like that's fine. I agree with that.
Well,
in a way.
I wanted
but
it
if
for
you
the
can,
story.
If you can suffer through that and get through the
But
story,
can
the last
you see why I'm saying
Oh,
that?
of course I
Because
can.
for someone like
But the last like last 2/4 of that. Oh, that's a half. The
Yeah.
last 2/3 of that game, the time traveliness.
Yeah. Well, I want
is
it for the
epic.
story.
It's so good.
But
That
for the
whole
fact that
narrative.
I was the only person that I know who just sort of gave up on it, maybe a quarter of the way into the game because the gameplay just wasn't sort of there for me, and everyone else had played through it. And I'm like, oh man, the story's really cool, but nobody had said to me that they'd had similar problems. So I'm like, is it just because I was having an off week or something, or is it because it's an Xbox game as well? Usually I play on PS4. I thought maybe because I'm not used to the control thing. I'm like, no, I play plenty of games on Xbox as well.
he doesn't know how to use a good controller.
Oh, shots fired.
Went
shots
there.
fired.
I mean, you guys think so, but I play PS4 because I like the controller.
I'm kidding.
But
No,
Sorry.
I know that's
I-
not. I,
see
know that's
it.
not
I get
the
what you-
genuine
I actually get where you
consensus.
come. Like, I wasn't. There were certain parts of Quantum Break that I loved, really appreciated, but I wasn't blown away by it. I wasn't compelled.
The story
by
was
it.
great, but the gameplay
Oh,
was
even
just
even
second
The
rate for
gameplay
me.
was. I agree with you.
Yeah.
was-
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
I'll
And
forgive the
I'm not-
gameplay for the story. I'll freely admit that.
So will I, but I'm probably just going to watch it on YouTube. And I totally forgotten
Fair
about
enough.
it for 8 months because it
It's-
just gave me the shit
So
bad.
tomorrow, I'm just gonna play Quantum Break and you can watch.
Oh, cool.
Damn done.
As long as I don't have to talk to Ben. Jesus.
Oh jeez.
I felt the
Wait, what?
story. I felt the story was too cliche. Good guy, bad
That's me
guy.
all over, man. I love that shit. And all the actors that they cast in it, I was so looking forward
But
to
they
it.
were
just-
friends, and
I
then they were
felt-
enemies. They
Yeah,
were frenemies.
but I felt it was at
It's a
odds.
tale as old as
with-
time,
I felt
Tano.
it was at odds
Too
with
many
the
Ts.
complexity of the gameplay and the technology and the science that they'd created and everything, and it was almost too simple and it didn't come
See,
together.
I fell too much into that. I like that shit.
Yeah, fair
The,
enough.
the best part ever is when in the first episode you get to see like an Alan Wake kind of tease, and you're like, "Whoa,
Shut
my
up,
God."
Steve. The best part ever was this thing.
Just Alan Wake.
We know you're
I want
really,
Alan Wake too.
really
Like,
into
do you know,
Alan
do you know
Wake.
what I'm
We
waiting
know.
for in
Sick.
it? And this is what I kind of expected Alan Wake Quantum Break to be. I'm waiting for.
They even
Rhyme.
rhyme.
Oh my God.
How did you not
I'm
know that?
waiting for a West.
Wait till you post that on the Reddit.
I'm waiting for a Westworld type, Lost type game where you continuously ask questions.
Eternal Darkness.
And
Don't even put
Yeah,
Westworld and
well,
Lost in the
let's-
same sentence with that filthy mouth.
yeah, I know.
Tano.
I agree with
Good
you
Lord.
because they are totally.
I loved Lost, but
yeah.
fuck Lost.
Westworld's a lot smarter than
Yeah.
Lost, so I agree with you. But in terms of like
well.
asking questions and not really answering them, and they're not really, but like I'm waiting for a game that does that, where it's like, here's a question, think about it, really take the time to interpret it and define it, and
It's hard to do that in the
a
video
I
game
know,
media.
I don't disagree.
Clearly,
Yeah.
my game of the year has to be Quantum Break. 'Cause I've talked about it way too much.
I
and
think
you guys
your
have all
I
thought
think
about
your
it.
2016
on.
game of the year
Moving on.
is Alan Wake, Steve, and
Alan Wake
you know
2.
what? I'll allow this.
Alan Wake 2 question mark.
Yeah, very good.
Shane, how about you plead the case for Dark Souls 3?
What am I pleading the case for?
That it's amazing, I guess, is the case. I don't know.
I think it is amazing. I think
Don't ruin my segue, man. Just go
no,
with it.
I don't know.
I
what,
bought it.
What am I fighting
None,
against?
none of us have played it except for
played
Tano, who bought it for some reason. So you're gonna
He also bought Final Fantasy.
Till our super
which
Super
I
Saturday.
really liked.
We'll get
This
there.
is
That's-
just
that's
this
December.
this as always just
November.
just shows that really weird makeup that this podcast is.
Yeah,
that
we'll
like
talk about Quantum
these-
Break. But
these
we're
are
not
some-
really
these
We're
are
gonna
not
some
do that.
really-
sadistic.
these are some really big games,
Yeah.
and they're quite popular. And because the majority, or what do you call it, Steve? 2.5 halves or whatever. How many? How many
two
fourths it
quarters,
is?
two
Yeah.
thirds.
So 3/4 of this 2.5 halves aren't into like RPGs in general. And I mean, like, I understand that Dark Souls is it's made a name for itself as the super tough thing, just as Bloodborne didn't make a name for itself as a super tough thing when it should have. Dark Souls is easier. It really is just like it's a really good example of a pretty tough action RPG. Like it's I don't know. It's really weird to say because like Dark Souls the series started out as this just like ridiculous like fuck you and anyone who's playing this game. It's going to be tough. The controls are really hard. It's really hard to get used to. And it's
Sign me
changed over. That's what I'm saying, though, Steve. Like, it's changed over like the 7 or 8 years that it's been around. It's a lot more accessible now. It's got that fan base that had mostly come from the OG Dark Souls people, but it's so much easier to play, and it's really fun. And they've really started to balance. Like, I think they bring it in Bloodborne a little bit, but they've really sort of perfected the whole idea of like, yeah, it's tough, but it's not ridiculously tough, and the sense of satisfaction that you get out of it because it's considered a pretty tough game, or because you've struggled on like a certain boss for a while. That's why it's really good. But I mean, we can talk about why Dark Souls is what it is, but I think the difference with this one is it's a lot easier. It's a lot more accessible. It's a lot prettier. It's one of those series that's got like really loose kind of narrative that you have to pick up from items and flavor text and that sort of thing. Like, Destiny, when it called itself a game for the first year or two, and there was no story there. It was all just
or like
incidental
Gear,
stuff,
or like Resident Evil to an extent.
Metal
No?
Gear,
Well, they had-
really?
Well,
That's
like,
that
Metal
game's got
Gear's
more
got too much
cutscene
story.
than game.
yeah, that's
That's
true.
a
More
weird
story than
one
it
to go
needs.
to.
Resident Evil's a better example.
Maybe Resident Evil,
Where you
but again,
read
that's
the
got
journals and the-
this is it's one of those things where there's very little there. You have to kind of know the old stuff, but because they've got a lot more to lean on now, they went back to places that were in the original game, and they changed because it was thousands of years later. So it had that kind of legacy kind of thing about it. But at the end of the day, it's not just because it's hard or it's Dark Souls or it's this type of game. I think the reason it's so good is because it's the culmination of years of making this type of game. And I don't think anyone out there can make a better action RPG. Like, it's not... I mean, we have to wait and see if Kingdom Hearts 3 ever comes out, because that's the only thing that I can think of, which is a great action RPG.
It'll be
Final Fantasy 15 is kind of a...
5.6.2.5.7.
Final Fantasy 15 is the only other action RPG I can even think of, and even that is kind of, to me, not that much of an action RPG. This is really well made for that genre. Like, nothing's even close to it, and it is kind of hard, and it wants to push people away. But I think they've opened it up enough to make it easy enough for people to play. And like even saying that makes me sound like a total dick.
What he's saying is Dark Souls fans
You
will
sound
like
like the most
Dark
Souls.
Souls.
Hang on, so you're saying
No,
They
Dark
won't,
Souls
they'll hate
fans.
it.
Dark Souls fans have complained that this one's too easy, but it's like
Sounds great.
it's like.
Well, you're all
it's too
sadistic.
easy. It's just
But
like,
they're all assholes.
Yeah,
like, I'm not
exactly.
going to tell
so
you.
if
that's
I
not
only
right.
have Dark Souls 1 backwards compatible on Xbox One,
Don't even bother, Ben.
and I have
Don't even
I
bother,
have
man.
Bloodborne on
From
PS4.
what I've heard about the first Dark
You're
Souls,
telling me that Dark Souls 3 is the game that I should play out of those four
Yes.
options.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
It's not just like, I mean, we talk too much about like how hard Dark Souls is, but it's more. It's a really, really good game. Like, if you're even slightly interested in that kind of game, which is kind of a niche thing, the action kind of game, but like it's I can't think of a better action RPG that I've ever played, and not just because like this is the end of the series or anything. Like, it's amazing. It's really well done. The gameplay's perfect, and it brings in this stupid Dark Souls thing where like the bosses are really hard, but like it's doable. But you kind of the only way to do it is to kind of learn the patterns that they do and know what they're going to do as they're doing it, kind of thing. You really need to know the game, and it really has to have. This has been Dark Souls forever and Bloodborne, like. But the game mechanics have to be so good for you to be able to pick up on little cues like that. That the rest of the game, while you're playing it, while you're not in just like the awful boss battle that's like kicking your ass for a while until you finally get it and you get that, huzzah moment or whatever. If that's in the game all the time, the gameplay is so good for what it is. Like, I don't know. I think that's why it's worth really focusing on, because it's the pinnacle of that type of genre of game.
So is this kind of like the theme of 2016, that it's still in the vein of the franchise, but it's more inclusive?
No,
Or no?
I mean,
Is that too?
I to a point. I mean, I really think
if it wasn't already inclusive, yes.
it depends who you ask.
Well, if we're talking
this
about, like,
kind of
Final
thing.
Fantasy and
purists
stuff.
are going to be
Final Fantasy for fans.
Final
and
Fantasy
first-timers.
is a whole other thing as well. But that's not. I mean, I don't know if I really see Final Fantasy 15 as a 2016 game. I see it as a 2006 game, because I know it's been around so long that all of the
that is
reasons
that
they.
is the most ridiculous.
Well, I mean, I'm not literally or
Sure.
genuinely, but like
Sure.
the ideas that they come up with for this game are 10 years old. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not something that's been in development for
The
a couple
side
of
quest
years.
showed that it's dated, but yeah,
Yeah,
I get that.
I mean, we'll get there as well. But I
Yeah.
mean,
Sorry, I didn't mean to
no,
lay me.
I think games in general over the years. I mean, Nintendo's a really good one to look at. You know, they've always had like they started this gangster shit with the original. You know, the tough platformer that was Mario, and as time's gone on, they've made it easier and easier because he's getting cuter and cuter. And also, has anyone else ever noticed that Mario doesn't have a neck until they started playing Super Mario Run?
No, I
The
haven't.
load screen, next time it loads up, you have a look at it, and he's standing there, looks real weird.
So that's
he's never had a
December.
neck.
Moving up to April.
Whatever, he's got no neck.
We're well within April, by
It
the
blew
way.
my mind today
April,
when I
May,
saw it.
May. Well,
We're
May
still
now.
in April. Calm down.
Anyway.
Calm down,
What's
mate.
in April?
I think we need to talk about Dirt Rally at least as a side note
Well,
because
never played
it
it.
for Stevivor
No,
tied
none
as
of
our
us played it.
tied sports game of the year.
I heard it's
because,
great though.
Well, so we
I
have.
have no strong feelings one way or the other.
So when it comes to sports games and racing games, we were all giving it to Forza Horizon 3 because awesome racing game, Australiana, blah 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 blah. But Nicholas, who actually plays racing games, said it's the most realistic, the
Yeah.
most
I've heard that.
innovative, the most refined, the game in the Dirt franchise that not only revives the franchise but like brings it forward, like rejuvenates it. Like I'm talking secondhand here, but if someone's gonna speak that well of a game, I think it's worth noting.
But you know what?
And that was the note.
I believe that. I didn't think that highly of Forza Horizon 3 anyway, but
Of all
I've heard
those
that.
reasons are the reasons that I don't want to play a
racing game?
realistic racing game. I
Yeah.
much prefer Forza Horizon over Forza Motorsport because it's just muck around in this awesome, really expensive car as opposed
think
to
we need to
drive
separate-
it properly.
Hold
I think-
down gas and never let go of gas.
Yeah.
I want to
and have
crash
fun.
my Lamborghini and that'd be fine. I,
I
don't
think
want to
we
be
need
like
to separate
penalised.
now when it comes to racing games between sim and arcade because, like games like Rally and games like not so much Forza
Like
Horizon,
Drive
but
Club, maybe.
Drive Club as well.
Like
There was
Forza
the other
Motorsport
one-
is their sim version.
Yeah.
What's the
Well-
other? Well, there was another racing game that came out.
Project Cars, maybe.
No, that
Started
was
with
last year.
A. Do you know which one I'm talking about? Oh, damn it. What's it called? It didn't come out. It came out recently. It was a
Dunno.
sim on consoles. Surely you know what I'm talking about.
Don't know.
F1 2017.
Do you know a
16.
racing game that's come out recently that is
WCR?
really kind of
WRC.
obscure?
WRC. I mean,
Unless it's Mario Kart or F-Zero, I've never
gonna
heard of
find
any
the name
racing
of it.
game.
Well-
F-Zero, you're going back to 2003, mate. If you want one of those.
Yeah,
So-
because I'm putting it up against Final Fantasy 15 as Game of the Year for 2004.
2006. Ratchet and Clank. Anyone?
Ratchet
Very
and Clank,
Yeah,
I
that was
thought was
great.
great.
Yeah.
Probably
It's
one
a-
of my games of the year, actually.
It's a remake, which is very close to the level of remake that like Gears of War. Not Gears of War.
It's a full
One was.
remake.
As
Yeah.
That
as
was-
I go ahead.
Anyway.
No, sorry.
Well, we had so many dodgy remasters this year that are proper
We don't have to
redone
say
an
this
entire
year.
game. Well, we're
Forever.
We're talking about this year.
Yeah, well, go on.
As I said in my review, it's an Insomniac game that has variety of weapons, variety of ways to shoot things and maim things and kill things, but also with characters who you care about. So like everything that Sunset Overdrive wasn't in a game that's actually quite good with a good narrative.
And let's face it, the PS2 generated franchises, when they've got to sequels this generation or last gen even, they became terrible. So
Yeah.
one of them lasted. So they've gone back to the
Because
one...
they've totally changed,
they've-
usually.
well,
This is staying...
This is going back to the beginning, and let's just make that game how it would be made
But
if
not
we
only
made
that,
it
like,
now.
the gameplay is, back to the roots and, like... Yeah, and it
Well,
makes sense for that.
And I think that's why doing the first 3 Crash Bandicoot games, that kind of style makes sense instead of making a sequel. But
I don't know if Crash Bandicoot's going to translate in today's gaming world.
you're
but
spot on, because the problem with that is like the Ratchet and Clank remake was remade with modern controls.
Yeah.
Crash Bandicoot's being remade with modern graphics, but PS1 style controls, and they can't change those because they're making it. They specifically said for that it's not a remake; it's a remaster plus.
Yeah,
And
the
meaning,
reskin or whatever.
meaning
like.
they're reskinning the whole thing. and it's gonna play awfully.
I
It's gonna
think-
be you press left and he does a full on 90-degree turn.
I think even one of the first things I thought when I saw the actual gameplay trailer of the new Crash Bandicoot, I don't know where we're definitely sidetracked at the moment, but the first thing that I noticed was
What are
like,
we talking about?
Crash Bandicoot's PlayStation's next year's Ratchet and
yeah.
Clank.
So here we are getting ready for 2017 game of the Crash Bandicoot.
Yeah.
But the thing that I
Do you
noticed
reckon?
immediately when you no.
Ooh, people are gonna hate
That's why I
hell
turned it from Game of the Year into I just said Crash Bandicoot and stopped saying those words. But if you see it side by side in the trailer that they released, you see that like he's still the same size in the remaster remake as he is on the left in the original, and like people don't play on CRT TVs anymore. They've got like. I mean, not everyone's got like a big flat screen TV or whatever.
But everyone's playing on
the,
at least
the
LCD.
perspective is going to be ridiculous, and it's not going to feel right because you don't play a game like you're playing in a cinema on like a massive projector or whatever. It's going to feel stupid, and it's going to feel like you don't have anywhere near the control. Like
I think they're gonna do it right. There's no way PlayStation would have committed to this. They would have got.
what does it matter? It's just a cash in, right?
PlayStation didn't commit to this. This is an Activision game.
Yeah.
Crash Bandicoot.
It's a PS exclusive.
Timed
So-
by
exclusive.
Crash Bandicoot because they
It's
are
not
Activision.
timed exclusive.
Yes, it is. It's Activision have the. It's
Activision
coming to
own
Xbox
Crash.
in a year.
You
Absolutely.
reckon it's going to come
Really?
to Activision?
Yeah.
I
reckon
reckon
it
so
will.
too.
Yep.
I don't think
I
it
think.
will.
I
How
think
is Sony?
definitely.
Sony would have to pay out the nose.
I reckon they
I
would
think
have.
they do that
No,
too.
no.
I reckon they have done
Definitely.
that.
Hang on. Didn't you realize that E3 last year, every game ever had PlayStation exclusive, but except for Crash
Yeah,
Bandicoot,
I reckon.
didn't have it.
They also
reckon
had
that-
trailers except for Crash Bandicoot at E3 last year.
Oh, that's true.
I
But
think that this
if
might
you,
stick with PlayStation.
no, it's owned by. If it was any other
I
publisher,
get that it's an Activision.
Yeah, I think Sony would
exclusive.
pay for that.
I reckon they
I
would.
think it's timed only.
Okay, but
Because
like,
you look at what
is
they've done
Sony
with-
paying for this because Sony doesn't have anything lined up in the next year?
Well, you look at what
It's a
they've done
combination
with
of
Crash
that and
with
'cause it's their
Skylanders.
thing, like-
Crash was a Skylanders exclusive on PlayStation.
Here's the thing.
But it worked on Xbox as long as you bought the PS
Oh, really?
booster pack.
did it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it did. As long as
Yeah, really?
it's like it's because it's like an
funny.
amiibo or whatever, like
Yeah.
like a toy that you put on a base. The toy works on the Xbox base. You just have to buy it for the
It's
PS4.
still all the same content?
Yeah. You have to buy it on PlayStation, but it works
That's
on.
awesome.
I think the point
That's
where we're
cool.
at in
I like
games
that.
right now is exclusive for something like that, which isn't owned by a first party. It's exclusive for now. It won't
Yeah,
be.
but has that
forever.
ever been with something that's so
Something
synonymous with their brand, though?
Because
Like,
this
No, but
these
here's-
first games,
the
these
thing
original
is-
games were PlayStation exclusive.
It doesn't matter now
I
when they
get
get
that.
re-released.
I get that.
Activision own them now.
I get
Yeah,
that.
it's Activision's
but I'm
call.
saying that I think,
I think
that,
they've paid for
I
it.
think that PlayStation would have gone out of their
Yeah.
way because these games
to pay
were
forever
PS1
exclusive.
Yeah, I think
I
so.
reckon potentially.
I think if they had paid for that, it would be published by Sony with Activision. They would be.
Is it not?
No, it's published by Activision.
I thought it was like a
No,
Ben
collaboration.
speaks the truth.
no, it's Sony have paid for
Interesting.
definitely at least 1 year timed exclusive. We don't know beyond that.
Well, I don't think it's a bad thing if it's going to be on Xbox.
No,
I'd just
it's
be
not.
very surprised. I think
think
it'd
it
be
will be.
great if
I
it is,
reckon
like-
I'd
think
be
it will
very
be.
surprised as well.
Because
I
it's
reckon
not just
gonna-
it's not just like gaming nostalgia for PlayStation. It's like nostalgic anyway. Like a lot of people have moved on from PlayStation and
Well, yeah,
play
and
Xbox. now. They
every
should be able
Crash
to do
game
it.
after
Just-
those first three were on Xbox.
Just
Well.
for the record,
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
yeah, there you
after
go.
those
True.
first three.
for the record, Crash Bandicoot Remastered, the Insane Trilogy,
Dumb
is
name.
being developed by Vicarious Visions, who
Owned
is
by Activision.
in-house Activision, and is being published by Activision.
I didn't realize that all the Crash games after the third one were not
Oh, yeah,
exclusive
no,
either.
they've
Well, there you go.
been on every
There's
platform.
about 4 which are exclusive to Nintendo.
I retract my
handheld,
previous statement.
and the rest are all on multiple.
Anyway, Crash Bandicoot, Game of the Year
No, but
2016.
these
17.
Crash games that are being published.
Well, why
as
are we
in
talking about it then?
These? Yeah, why are we talking?
Because Ratchet and Clank and a
'Cause we get
massive
sidetracked.
tangent.
Yeah.
That's why.
Ratchet and Clank's owned by Sony. We can confirm that.
Star
can
Fox
we, though?
Zero,
Yes, we can.
moving along.
No, it's
No.
garbage. Move
Good,
on.
great.
That's all
Then we're into May.
Actually,
Maybe
Ratchet and
sick.
Clank is owned by Insomniac.
Which is owned by Sony, isn't it?
No,
Oh, really?
No, because they did Sunset Overdrive.
they have.
I thought
chosen
Sony
to do
owned
it.
the IP. Anyway,
No, so that's a.
I think
Sony's
they've,
making
I think
like
they've
Ratchet
chosen
and Clank.
because
Crash
of
is different. Crash
money.
hasn't been exclusive since the original PS1 games, which are being re-released.
I'd be willing to put money that it will stay PlayStation exclusive.
I'm torn now.
I think it will for.
I did agree with you until Ben kept raising all these good
I think
points.
because these three games
there's more Crash exclusives on Nintendo handhelds than there are to PlayStation.
I actually read that last week. But I think because these three games are very kind of tied to PlayStation.
But don't you think that's funny? Crash is more of a Nintendo exclusive than it is to a PlayStation exclusive.
But
what we should really be talking about, the real question here is
Alan Wake 2.
not ever Alan Wake 2 or NHL related in any way.
Damn it.
The real question here is, when Uncharted 4 gets its full remaster, are they going to put in Crash Bandicoot Crazy Insane Trilogy remaster, or is it going to be the original?
Original.
Why do you say that?
Because Naughty Dog have not made the remaster, so they won't put it in. They want to have their
Well, they
own
haven't.
game in there.
Well, they haven't. Naughty Dog haven't made
So
the
what
remastered
month are we at?
4 yet.
Wow. Ton, are you?
I'm
pissed off?
talking about 2028, about when Uncharted 4 gets remastered.
When Kanye is president and whatever's going on.
2028. You think Sony's going to leave it that long? It'll be like 2019.
It'll be PS4 launch title, yeah.
it won't.
2019
It'll be
on
what a
PS5.
PS4 launch title.
PS5.
They'll go back in time.
2019 PS5.
They'll go back in time to before it was released.
Make a note. That was my prediction, and it's going to come true.
Right.
On the same vein of Sony, Uncharted 4 in May. Bam.
Wow.
Talk
Why did you even
about
do
this.
that? I did all the work with that segue. We were there.
Sorry.
Very good game.
Very
Yeah.
good game. Much
Amazing.
better than Uncharted 3.
Honestly, actually, you know
Didn't
what?
finish it.
The goon to non-goon ratio
We've
is...
harped on about Uncharted 3 plenty. Can you give us a small 45-minute segment? Why is... No. I mean, I think Uncharted 4 was like, you knew it was going to be the end of, like, I mean, you know, it could go on from here. But it's the end of an era, it's the end of Nate, like, we were talking about it earlier, they kind of, when they were doing all the PR stuff, they kind of made it seem like Nate might die in this one, or
die, yeah.
Sully might die, or everyone was on the chopping block. Like George R.R. Martin came in and was like, "I'm doing the script for this one. Everyone is dead. Everyone, do you like them? Fuck, they're dead. But like, I think because we knew this was going to be the end of it, I had really, really high hopes for it, and I think it like the story just kind of blew me away. It was really cool.
And it's by far the best story I've ever played in an action adventure style game.
And
By a long way.
the gameplay was elevated. It looked amazing.
It's probably the best looking game this generation. I would say with Gears of War 4, they both look great.
Yeah,
Even better on
that's fair.
PS4 Pro.
I haven't played it on PS4 Pro.
It's pretty. It's
but I
actually.
imagine
It's
it is.
admittedly
Yeah,
really good.
it is really good.
The story is great. The pacing of it's great. Like I feel like Uncharted in the past got bogged
Yeah,
down a lot.
yeah.
This one,
There's
jumps around a lot.
very little about this game that I can. Well, like the problem that I had with it going in was, okay, we're at number 4 now, so that's 4, not 1 or 2 or whatever. Now we're going to
Well, plus
introduce
Vita games as well.
Yeah. Well, what was that?
There's only-
Golden
there's
Abyss.
only
It
one.
was only the
There
one.
There was only one.
I
real
thought there were
one.
two.
The
Anyway,
other
sorry.
one's a card game.
Yeah.
So at 4, which just also happens to be the, well-known end of this era or of Uncharted in general forever, which is not going to happen because that's making some
we
money.
get another 50 Uncharted games.
They bring in Nate's brother, which was I was like, come on, there is no way. This just reeked to me of crappy sitcom, like, oh, we're going to Auntie June's place for Christmas. Like, hey, how come we've never been there in the
It's
first
the
12
Leo
seasons of this
DiCaprio
show?
of growing
Like,
pains, is
it
what you're
was
saying.
So I was just like, there is no way that they can write this for me to believe it. For one, why he's never spoken about it, and to make me give a shit about his brother. Like, I care more about Sully, and I care more. Like, there's all these other characters that are well established. You're gonna have to bring in this new guy, build him up, waste a whole bunch of time establishing this character, which, for one, from the very beginning, I don't believe even exists, because why has he never mentioned him before? And then they made it pretty believable why. They had like a sort of tricky kind of backstory why he'd never talked to him about it. Yeah. Not only that, he turned out to be awesome. Still, I don't think on par with Nate and Sully and the gang.
He couldn't be.
But hey, he held his own, and like the fact that he got there with just the one game, like I was really, really surprised. Like the only thing that I was worried about was like bringing this new character, and they still nailed it. Like,
And now that they really toned down the let's fight some goons, which is
so few goons. Like there's still quite a few goons,
you
but
still,
like compared to three,
you still murder about 2,000 people, but it makes sense. It's not like 20,000.
yeah.
So
They explain it with the side quest where you find out that he's got this ridiculous bloodlust, and he can't get an erection unless he kills 10 men in it. Anyway, it's this whole
that
other
might have
thing.
been some DLC.
Could have been a dream I had as
Sorry.
an aspiring serial killer. Anyway, I've
I
shared
just
too
blew
much.
my mind because I was talking about Growing Pains and Leo DiCaprio, who's like the brother of Nate. But if you think about Growing Pains, who was the youngest daughter in Growing Pains? Ashley Johnson, who plays Ellie in The Last of Us.
Which is an unrelated game.
But it's like kind
From
of
a
related,
similar
and it
studio.
blew my mind. I'm
Shared
sorry.
voice
No wonder
actors.
that took you 5 minutes after you said it to get there. That's about what
I
it
didn't
was
say
worth.
it was interesting. I just said it blew my mind.
There's
So
no filter
shut
here.
up.
I say this shit that I think.
Anyhow, Uncharted 4 won our Action Adventure award because we decided that Dark Souls 3 wasn't a action adventure.
It's
It was
It's
action
It's
RPG.
an action RPG.
We're not gonna-
that
we're
was
not
a
get
whole
into that.
mess.
As an
Uncharted 4 is probably
it's
a
an
better
excellent-
game, and it's also much more accessible and for everyone.
And
Like,
it's
more people are going to
basically
play that.
exactly what you want from action adventure, with the story which we didn't really used to have from action adventure until a few years ago. So you can't really. I don't see how you can really beat this.
Yeah. Like it had been hyped up, and even like when we saw the original trailer where he's like hanging off the back of the van at E3 or whatever, and they did that. They went through the little town and stuff. I was like, oh yeah, this looks crazy. There's
Well,
no way
because-
they can keep this up for an entire game.
Well, when they did that,
but it
like,
felt bigger than the
this
other
is-
ones
this
and,
is a-
and much more detailed.
if you look at how they made the Uncharted games, they made the first game is classic first game 2007 level first game early PS3 days, where in retrospect the gameplay is pretty shit because it was just they hadn't quite figured it out yet, but the story and the idea was good. Uncharted 2 blew us all away.
well,
like,
what's
they got
wrong
it
with
all
Indiana
right.
Jones? Like that's a proven. Everybody
Yeah,
loves that.
but I mean,
right?
they just hadn't got gameplay right yet.
Yeah.
They got that right in Uncharted 2, and they had a better story.
yeah.
Then Uncharted 3, they forgot what made Uncharted good, and they made a terrible game.
It's goons,
Then
right?
Uncharted
It was
4,
goons.
Hired goons.
they figured out what it was, and they made it even better.
Mm.
And that's why I think, even if there is more Uncharted, I think Naughty Dog shouldn't make it. They should be like, someone else figure
I
out
don't
what
think
to
they
do from
will
here.
make it.
I don't,
But that
it's not
scares
what
the
they
shit
do.
out of me that they would hand that IP over to someone else.
Well,
because,
Sony own it, don't they? I'm pretty sure Sony owns
Yeah.
Uncharted, so they
Yeah.
can do what they want with it. But
they can only do. I don't know.
I reckon Naughty Dog is at a point now where they will be big enough where they can do more than one project at once.
I think they want
I
to
think
do
they don't
different
want to
stuff,
do more.
though,
Yeah.
Like,
that's more.
I'm
about
even
it.
So you're-
surprised by the
I-
announcement
there's
of The
no-
Last of Us 2. Like, well, we're not
There's
really
no,
surprised.
there's no
but,
way that they've got one team working solely on one project. They've got two teams working on two different games at two different times.
Sony
Guaranteed.
owns the rights to Uncharted, Resistance, God of War, The Last of Us, Bloodborne, Ratchet and Clank, and Demon Souls, which explains a whole bunch
Demon Souls
in the
is-
narrative of everything we've been
Yeah.
talking about.
Yeah.
Actually, that's the reason Dark Souls existed,
Yeah,
because
because
they wanted
Because
to make
they-
a new one, and
yeah.
they couldn't use that name, so they were just like, let's
Which is hilarious
slightly
that they now
change
own
it.
Bloodborne as well. Like,
the
why wouldn't they
cheeky-
just make it Demon Souls
It
too?
explains
But
the
anyway.
Ratchet
That
and
was
Clank
quite.
thing
There
we're
was quite a lot of
talking about.
conversation about that when Bloodborne came out, but yeah.
Well, yeah, Ratchet and Clank.
I
is-
thought they owned that.
You're right.
But that doesn't. No, but Insomniac isn't Sony. But
No, but they
yeah,
own
same
that
idea.
game can't come to Xbox because Sony owned
Yeah.
that game.
And so, did Naughty Dog sell the rights to Crash to Activision, or did Sony
No.
sell the
No,
rights?
so
to
it was actually Universal.
It's way
Never had
before
it.
that.
So it was actually the original Crash Bandicoot games were actually published by, I think it was Universal Games or something.
Oh shit!
They owned it.
Yeah.
I didn't know
And that became Vivendi bought
Yeah,
them out,
and then
and Activision
Activision.
bought Vivendi, and that's how they got it.
And there's your lesson in history, children.
And
Sony
knowing
would have
is half the battle.
Sony would have kept that if they could have, but they just never. That was in the mid '90s when owning IP for games wasn't as big.
Well,
as
and
it
that
is
was
now.
like
It was all
why
about
George
cocaine
Romero
back
can't
then.
make a of the Living
Yeah.
Dead movie.
And not
without
only
having
that,
to
but
pay someone else.
Universal probably would have been in a better position
Well, Sony
to
didn't
bid
want to.
than what Sony would have. In
No,
the
and that was the
90s for
first
gaming.
game where Sony weren't like, "Oh, we don't want to pay money to own this." That was like,
What? This is the early '90s after the Walkman craze. Sony
They-
still had some cash around.
But
man.
that's like
No, killing it.
It's
not
the,
for games.
It's the
though.
game equivalent.
PlayStation is pretty new at that point.
It's the game equivalent of giving George Lucas all the rights to merchandise, being like, this won't matter in the future. And I'm sure if Sony could look back now, they would have kept Crash Bandicoot, but they didn't take up that option.
So midway, I'm moving us along. Midway to May, we have Doom. I would think
Shooter
the biggest
of the
surprise
year.
hit.
Yeah.
Good campaign,
yeah.
rubbish multiplayer.
Who cares
the
about
multiplayer was
multiplayer?
okay, but yeah, the campaign was
Shithouse multiplayer.
unreal.
But
Nobody
you
has ever
can't-
played any first-person multiplayer ever. I've never met anyone who's done that. So who
I think
cares?
Call of
You
Duty and
can't put
Battlefield
Doom
have
up
done well.
as the shooter
Call
of
of
the
what?
year
Yeah.
Nah.
because
That was third person.
you can't say that Doom is the shooter of the year because Doom made its living off being a multiplayer game, and multiplayer is what brought that game down.
Yeah, but you can't hold the game's marketing campaign against it. Like that's not the game.
Why, I'm not talking about its marketing. I'm
He's
just
talking about the shit.
I'm talking about a multiplayer game
Multiplayer.
that came
Is it a
out.
multiplayer game?
Doom is totally
Yeah.
a multiplayer game.
I think it's always been a I think
Doom led to Quake, which led to blah 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 blah.
Quake's a
no,
better
but this
example.
game specifically, its campaign stands out.
Oh,
as
it does,
being very
but the
special.
Doom franchise
But what he's saying
has
is the
made
multiplayer
its
was
bread
terrible
off
in
of
this new one.
multiplayer. And it was a massive letdown in
Not-
terms of
not
multiplayer.
to
I don't think
I'm
that
not trying to
game-
distract from it.
yeah.
I'm saying it was an amazing game. It was a surprise game because
don't
it came
think
out
that-
after release and reviews. We were all worried it was going to be the shittest thing in the world, and it surprised every single person on the planet because its single player was so strong. But its multiplayer was the most disappointing thing of the year.
I don't think that devalues the fact that its
Oh, it
campaign
totally
was still
does.
great, and I think it's still one of the
Yeah, for
best,
me
if not
personally,
It's
the
an
like,
amazing shooter,
I-
but as a package, it lets you down.
I never play any multiplayer
Oh, neither do
ever. So I couldn't care less. Like I know that it devalues the game in some people's eyes. For me, that's not even a feature of the
But
game.
this release of Doom being so well in single player and so poor in multiplayer would be like Uncharted 4 having an amazing multiplayer experience and having
Well,
the
I mean,
worst
it
single
depends
player
who
ever.
you ask, but like,
Well,
but
if
like-
it did,
but again, like,
if a
who
game
gives
comes
a
out
shit
for what
about
it's known
multiplayer?
for and completely fails in that regard, that's why people. It's not called Alien Space Marine.
I think
it's
you're
called
confusing.
Doom, and
I
they're
think
trying
you're
to package
confusing
it
Doom
because of
with
the
Quake,
franchise.
though, Steve. Like,
No, but Doom led to Quake, and
yeah,
that
it
whole
did. But
experience.
Quake is the multiplayer, but I don't think Doom is the pinnacle of multiplayer that you're selling
I
it
think
as.
there's
Like,
still a lot of interest there in the campaign.
It's-
and
it was
I think
kinda
the
both.
campaign was good enough, and yeah, I think
especially like even look back at like Doom 3 was
Doom 3, yeah, it
that
was
was Doom was already focusing more on single player than multiplayer at all.
and that's why Doom 3 was a failure.
but it was still a
I'm
great.
not trying to be. I'm not.
It's still a great single player campaign, but Doom has moved on from being a multiplayer focused thing, and you know why? It's because Doom spawned Quake, and Quake has taken over as this is the multiplayer thing now. Doom is now more about single player.
Well,
than
good,
multiplayer.
and I want Doom
You
2,
could-
or
Which is
whatever
lucky
hell they're
because
gonna
the
call the next
multiplayer
one.
you
was
could
shit.
argue that they knew the single player was good, and they were trying to ramp up hype around the multiplayer to get more people interested.
I mean, you got to
at broader
pay the
range,
PR
because
people
they
for
knew-
something.
Especially with a first-person shooter that's called Doom, you know that you're going to sell it based on multiplayer. They might have known that the campaign was not going to be that great, so
It got fast-paced, close quarters shooting
yeah.
down to a T.
Yeah, yeah.
I'll admit,
And the
I
music,
like Doom. I really
the
like
music,
Doom. I
the
think
map
it was
design, the level design, everything
Yeah.
about it was
the way that it paid
Probably the best
homage
shooter
to
yeah, the
yeah.
music was amazing,
Yeah.
wasn't it?
unreal.
Yeah.
the way that it injected like old school stuff into the new environment. Like that was amazing.
It made
as well.
it actually workable though. It wasn't
Yeah.
just like a weird like throwback.
We
kind
didn't.
Of thing,
We
like,
didn't give Doom best shooter, and we'll get to why with
Well,
another game
you just
down
said
the track.
why
Well,
because it
No,
wasn't.
but
it
no.
wasn't the multiplayer game of the year.
there
that
was
it-
admittedly a game
set
that
out to be.
did both components better in Stevivor's opinion. If I'm putting it so vaguely,
in
but
it- yeah, not Tano. Like we don't care.
well, Tano said it was, and that, like I'm not shitting on Doom. I really
agree,
like
but
Doom.
it's just because I'm not a huge, like I just said, I'm not a huge multiplayer guy, and the game that did win Shooter of the Year is obviously the multiplayer massive game that it is.
Should we move on to that?
Well, I just like
No.
I think
It's in a different
months
month.
away.
this isn't
is
talking about Doom. This is talking
being
about
coy, Tano.
any game ever. If you have a really solid single player, focus on that, refine that, make that better.
Did.
Don't split.
I don't think anything could
but they're still
showcase that better
Oh,
than Doom.
you know who didn't focus on that? Bethesda, when they said we can't give you an early copy because you have to play online. Which is
I
the
don't
main
even
point
think.
of this game.
I think if everything that happens like with Bethesda is just like the early copy situation, and like it started with Doom.
This is before they had explained it, and they basically said this is a multiplayer game.
I think like yes, it hurts the gamers a little bit because they don't get the reviews on time, and maybe they have to wait instead of being impatient. I can't get it. No, I think we care more as journalists and people who do reviews than anybody else does. Nobody gives anywhere near as big a shit about this as we do. Like
that's true.
But
you
speaking
should.
from
it doesn't matter to anyone other than the people who will like feel entitled to be able to have. You know what I mean? Like people who are going to play this game who.
It should matter to people who have pre-ordered it. Oh, first of all, they should never pre-order it.
In a world where like DLC and season pass are the thing that they are,
those things too.
then how is this even a surprise or a problem? Do you know what I mean? Like, honestly, people are going to get their reviews. It might be a couple of days later,
but they
what does it matter?
Well, it shouldn't. Why should it be a couple of days later? They should be. They've always been available pre-launch. Why now are they deciding?
Sometimes they're not. Like
the thing. There's been a big push for the last few years of games to be taken more seriously as an entertainment medium. Every other form, movies, books, TV shows, plays, whatever, have all had reviews out before the public have had a chance to pay to see it. It's been the thing forever for everything, not just for games.
I totally agree, Ben. But I mean,
every other publisher has accepted that, and Bethesda have just decided now. We're not going to do that anymore.
But what I'm saying is like nobody cares. Like nobody outside this room or like people of similar ilk give a shit because the people who care, who want to know what the review is day one, the second that the embargo drops, have got a pre-order in or they're buying it day one and they're so all over it that they're going to buy it regardless or close to it. The actual people who are going to wait for a review don't give a shit when it comes out. When the review comes out, if they're really basing their purchase on that, which I don't really know if there are that many people out there anymore who base.
Would be.
I don't know, man.
Otherwise, no.
I don't think it's as common a thing as it was a few years ago, and I think it will become less common over time as well. I think the people who are waiting for a timely review don't matter as much as the people who desperately need that review on time because they've already made up their mind depending on what the PR spin was beforehand, or because they're super into it and they're pre-ordering the DLC Game of the Year.
I think we have to recommend now never to pre-order Bethesda game or any game. There's no reason.
I think you're taking it too far, man. I genuinely think it's not that big a deal. I think it's a problem for us and you. Like obviously you have a strong opinion on this, but I think most people it doesn't. Most people, I think it doesn't affect them at all.
I actually agree with Shay.
Yeah, I think it's just
what about
the target market isn't affected by this at all. So why would they bother?
The average pre-order consumer pre-orders a game, puts down $10 or whatever they do, and then reviews normally come out 3 or 4 days before a game's released. Say it's a game which looks great from the marketing, turns out to be terrible. It gets a 30 on Metacritic. Are you telling me people don't cancel their
pre-orders? There's a 7-day return policy at most places, like, and they can even they're not going to return it on the basis of a review.
I'm pretty
They're going to return it on the basis of I played it. The ratio of
people that actually cancel, I think, would be pretty low.
Yeah,
people that have actually already
based on a review.
Does that poorly.
If someone's committed to pre-order, chances are they're interested in the game, and it doesn't matter what reviews say. And this is why.
What about people
Bethesda's done their research?
What about people who haven't pre-ordered?
Then they'll wait for the review if it's so important for them. Here's the thing: it's so much easier for you to go if the review comes out a few days. Like you've already got access to the game. It's easier for you to go and pick the game up, play the game, form your own opinion without Ben's lovely input, and then take it back. Like almost all places will let you do.
No, only one retailer lets you do that.
No, JB does it as well.
If you've played it.
Yeah.
I don't think so, do they?
Most places do this, man, and it's not just EB in Australia.
And Big W, don't they? Need to have the seal on there. No, once you've opened the seal, you can't take it back.
Well, whatever. I don't think that's.
That is
I don't
true.
think that's true. Really?
Yeah, they
Okay.
put
Well,
you can only the the Xbox 360. Once you rip it open, you
Well,
can't do it. They put their own.
Okay,
one
here
on.
we go.
Big W definitely does that.
If there's really an issue with the Bethesda not giving us our entitlements like we want,
I
the
think
real
it's nothing
issue
to do with
is
that. I
the
think
real
it's just,
issue is
if you're releasing an entertainment product, you should put it out there for critical evaluation.
the problem is they're
That's
setting
part
a
of it.
precedent, which I mean I don't agree with. But the problem is what they're really doing is they're making it so that anyone who's really genuinely interested in their games, and if someone's into a Bethesda game, they're probably just going to buy any game that Bethesda puts out regardless, and they're probably going to like it. And to be fair, they genuinely seem to be of a quality that most people aren't going to complain unless they're really into multiplayer. But the problem that they're creating is it means that anyone who wants to play their game and decide if they like it before the reviews come out have to go to one specific retailer. Other than that, I mean, there's an option if, they're penciling people into that.
Interesting point there, because most people I've talked to this about are in games in some level. The people who've brought this up to me who they just play games for fun, they have all said, well, Bethesda games are normally broken at launch, right? So this isn't surprising. All of them.
Yeah, but they're always broken to a cute
Skyrim
degree. Like, everyone always gives Bethesda the widest berth to just like Skyrim, Fallout, all those games are broken as fuck when they come out, and then everyone puts out, like, look at this silly glitch, look at this hilarious thing, and they all laugh about it, and then slowly it gets patched over time. If any other company put out games at that standard, they get destroyed for putting out patchy holes in games. But when Bethesda do it, Bethesda Game Studios specifically, for some reason everyone thinks it's cute and they get away with absolutely everything. I don't know why that is.
That's because everything around that glitch is there's so much
It's also every
a
time it
lot going
happens,
on around
it
that
is
stuff.
hilarious. I'll give him that. Like, the guy will be convulsing, and I mean,
Do you know what's not broken at launch, but is broken possibly now?
What
if
a
you
segue.
ask Tano, Maze Overwatch.
Shouldn't have asked Tano.
I didn't know if you meant Overwatch from May or May's snowball fight in Overwatch. I didn't.
Oh no, MAY's Overwatch.
Okay.
Which
Overwatch.
Tano, did I put words in your mouth, or is that pretty accurate?
I didn't say. Did I say it was broken now?
You said the balancing is off now.
Oh no!
And I feel like the
Is
balancing
it?
at the
I
start
thought
was
they got it better than
No.
ever
So
before
what I
now.
said was
failed segue.
Oh.
What I said was that compared to, because I hadn't played it for about maybe 2 or 3 months, and what I've noticed is that they've obviously buffed and nerfed a lot of characters in that time. Like they've muffed
it. It's been muffed.
They've nerfed it and they've nuffed
They've
it.
nerfed McCree and they've buffed Diva and stuff.
Yeah. I
feel that the game isn't as accessible as it was at launch. And so the diversity of the player base and the people you're playing with isn't as it was at launch. And it's...
But they've made a full game now, right? Because I saw a lot of people saying on Twitter a few weeks ago at least, complaining, saying Overwatch can't be considered Game of the Year when the Game Awards gave it Game of the Year. Because when it launched... They did, right? That happened.
Yeah, that happened.
Yeah. When it launched, it didn't have competitive mode, which is what most people wanted, and it didn't have a bunch.
But it's all come out this year, so
yeah. But so people were saying it's a good game now, but when it launched, it's incomplete.
But it's in 2016. So
yeah, I mean, I can't argue this point because it's not my point. It's what I just saw a lot of people saying. When it launched, it was an incomplete game.
My point, my argument was that I made it sound critical. I made it sound like I was being critical when I said the game had changed, and this is up for a debate. I just feel that it's more of a competitive kind of ruthless game now than it was at launch, where you need to be a little bit more kind of, I don't know, someone help me here.
I haven't played it really recently.
Interested? That's not me. I don't fall under that category for Overwatch.
Steve?
It's multiplayer.
Meta? Something meta? I have no idea what you're after.
No,
I'm sorry.
so I'm just looking for. I'm just saying that the game's more competitive now than it was when it started.
But I think that with any, I don't disagree, but I think with any multiplayer-based thing, that always happens because the only people that are going to be playing now, as compared to May, are the people who are committed, and you will learn the meta comes back in. You learn the meta of the game. You figure out which characters to avoid or to go towards. You learn how to combat the, Mays this or Divas that, and everyone inherently becomes better, or you lose interest and play something else.
So that was what I was trying to get.
Yeah.
at.
Sorry, did I help or did I make it worse?
Because you said when we started talking, you said that I thought that it had been ruined at the start. But that was my point.
That was just a bad segue. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
Well, that's
That was
the
my
nature
point
of
where
these
it's-
like ongoing sort of games. Like this. Like Destiny's had its similar kind of thing.
Yeah,
And,
so
I mean,
everyone could play it. whereas
obviously
now,
games like WoW and stuff like that have as well.
Yeah.
Like this long running series, like there's always weird balancing issues, and it's impossible to keep the player base and the fans all happy. Like that, when you nerf anything, all the people who've been silent all their life stand up and say, "Nah, that's my favorite thing." So I don't know.
To try to move this along, it got the Game Awards Game of the Year. Would anyone here
Wait,
honest-
overall or for a category?
for
Overall.
overall?
Really?
Yeah. Would
Close to.
anyone ever consider that?
No.
Yeah,
No.
no, for me, close to.
I'm
yeah.
not.
No.
Multiplayer is not important enough
Do you
for
know
me
what?
to ever
I
Same.
think I think when you consider the amount of characters that are in the game,
Yeah.
and how well balanced, how diverse the experience is, how many different types of experiences you can get from
They did a
switching
good
between
job.
characters, it is an unreal game.
And especially as
the-
as an Xbox player, they did a great job of convincing people to essentially play Team Fortress, a style game of
Yeah.
a free-to-play game, but pay $100 instead of play for free on console of that style of play, which it's not a COD or a Battlefield. It's quite a different arcadey shooter.
Yep.
And they made you
It's
pay
time
up front
splitters.
for it. It is
It
time
is time
splitters.
splitters.
Which the PC community had accepted as we play this for free and we pay for cosmetic upgrades. Overwatch changed it to you pay for the whole game and you pay for cosmetic upgrades. Like,
Blizzard are
Classic
pretty
Blizzard
special,
making
I
money.
guess. Like,
and but it also
But-
managed to get people keep coming back. Like,
but at the same time, you're paying. Like, look at the way Blizzard addresses the community. Like, they only need one forum, one thread in there, as toxic as their forums are on the Blizzard website. They only need one forum talking about how one of their character needs to be buffed or nerfed, and they'll do it. And they'll say, "Done. We're going to do it now." And what developer on the planet is like that? And this
None.
is the community. These are the people that know what they're... this is the type of community where they played enough, they're engaged enough, where they'll go on the forums and they'll say, "This is wrong."
are they that in touch with the community? That, like,
Yes.
they're really that?
Yes, they've
wow,
done
okay,
that. They've
I'm
done that
impressed.
with pretty much every character. Like, they first did it with McCree. They did it with Bastion. They did it with...
Oh, but like for that, as much as they do that kind of thing well, like they drip fed Sombra for like 4 months.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
I thought that was
So-
cool the way they did that.
No,
though.
but like there's a certain expectation where like you start teasing a character and like you hear about it in the next month and a half, 2 months. If it takes that long, it's like borderline cruel, I think. I'm going to keep moving around. The only game to even be of mention in June, the period during E3 where games go to die usually,
Oh, the game
and this one
graveyard.
kind of did. Mirror's Edge Catalyst.
Oh, terrible.
I played the demo or the beta or whatever it was, and I was like, "Oh yeah, cool." I'd never really played Mirror's Edge. I think Ben, you're a fan of the original. Yeah, he's-
Ben is nodding his head with his
Do you know-
finger in
do-
mouth.
a biscuit in
this
his
game
gob.
The core gameplay is the same. The problem is that they took a really good
That's
character, a
boring
really
as well.
empowered, awesome character,
and
and they turned her into a nothing.
she got
person.
nerfed.
She did get nerfed.
Whoa,
She did.
and there was Blizzard
And-
for
and
I
it.
you
thought
could
I thought it
tell-
was supposed to be a prequel, and the
It
marketing
was
around
a
this
reboot.
the
It was
marketing
a
around this game
reboot.
was
It was so confusing.
horrendous.
You're right. Like
If it was a
I thought it was a
reboot,
remake.
fair enough ish, But like she's bland now. If it was a prequel, it didn't make any sense in relation to the original game.
I couldn't get far enough into it to get story stuff.
And
I
the
was
fact
just
that you
like,
don't know
Because
either or.
the gameplay's not compelling enough to keep you going, right?
No, it's
yeah,
terrible.
yeah.
You know, and you need that really.
I would
awesome
say
story
the most
there.
damning thing is I played it on EA Access, the first play trial, whatever they call that now.
Yeah.
After like 90 minutes, it's like, well, you're done. You can't continue further, but you still have 8 hours left, so you can go back and do what you already did.
Oh shit.
And so then it got added to the EA Access Vault, and I was like, well, I've got it downloaded already. I'll go back and try and finish it.
But
I played that first, and I played it for another 10 minutes, and that first 90 minutes is the best of it. It just gets worse.
Yeah.
And
Just
so I was
boring.
like, it doesn't
But
go anywhere after
the-
that. You played the whole game in the trial. No wonder they capped the trial
That
so
was-
early.
Yeah, that was with the first game. The gameplay it wasn't amazing, but the story itself and fate.
it must have been new
it
and unique
pushed you.
gameplay
It was,
though
it
at the
was.
time,
It
right?
was a story, and it was a great balance between the character and the story and the gameplay that pushed you forward. Because the gameplay is not that compelling. It doesn't. It's not really. That
If you said to
familiar
me,
and memorable.
Parkour the movie, the game, I would be like, no. I would be exactly like no.
Yeah, fair enough.
And I don't know. I think that the first one made enough waves for me to be interested in whatever this new reboot, reimagining,
totally fluffed it.
prequel, whatever the hell it
Totally
was.
fluffed it.
The first one's still a better game, and you have to remember you played that originally in 2008 when it was actually interesting.
Yeah.
Like, we've come a
I
long
don't know
way
if I
since
could go
then.
back.
So can we
But-
give the original Mirror's Edge a 2008 Game of the Year award retrospectively or something?
Yeah.
So
I'm really into doing this now. Like, I think we
Dice
should do
wanted
it.
to.
We need-
Dice
we need
wanted
from
to
2007
remake
now.
this. Dice wanted to make a sequel for a very long time. You could tell that they did.
Well, they
and-
should have done it while it was fresh, because now
Well,
it's just
EA,
weird.
EA wouldn't do it because the first game didn't sell enough. So it
But in this
eventually got
weird
to a point.
age. Sorry.
It eventually got to a point where EA said, "All right, let's do it." But
This
let's
is that
reboot
cult
it.
status thing, right?
Yeah.
Like,
No, it wasn't that though. They said, "Let's reboot it for a new generation," which is they didn't market it that, but that's what this is.
shut up, EA.
It's a reboot.
But in-
and it
in-
was terrible.
In this day and age of like strong female protagonists, they
Yeah.
watered Faith down.
Yeah, they did. Big time.
Whoa,
Big time.
there's something there.
It's the truth though, because you
Lack
already
of
had
faith.
you had. Oh, damn it, Shane!
Sorry, I just...
We have to move on now. That's it. I can't.
sorry.
We can't talk about it.
Sorry.
We can't talk about it.
Well,
Lack
if-
of faith. That's it.
If that's all we have from
seriously.
June,
That's it. Move on.
that's probably the end of part one, is it not?
Nah, we're gonna. You ruined it.
It would have
Oh,
been.
Ben.
Okay, so I think we're done for this week. Let's tune in for next week's.
Have you
podcast.
you've got your
Jesus
8:30 dinner
Christ.
appointment, as you always do, Tano?
There's a
Yes.
reason.
You got places to
Tano
be?
Doesn't Tano
You've put me really on the spot.
doesn't
man.
talk.
It's fine, man. Just
That's it.
rambling and rambling. This is all in it. This is the end.
Yeah.
Like, this is genuinely
Yeah.
in it.
Well, anyway, let's.
Anything you want to confess?
Let's kick things off next week again.
All right, cool. I'm
Anything I
so
wanna
jazzed
confess
for that,
where-
man. With that kind of attitude, I can't wait to return.
Me